Anya, I sent you to deliver a document to the boss, and your lipstick smudged? Sneaking snacks again? If you don't want to work, just quit. My team leader launched into a tirade at me. The boss suddenly appeared at the door. I ate it. Got a problem? Subscribe now, the story begins. I've had my eye on Justin for ages. I followed him to his high school, his college, chased him across half the country. Still couldn't catch him, so I just went back home to chill. Then he suddenly landed as our company's boss. I secretly thought my chance had come, only to find out he already has a 4-year-old kid. The new boss is way too handsome. With a boss like that, I'd gladly work overtime with him every day. Too bad he's divorced and has a kid. The moment Justin arrived, the office girls went wild. Hearing them gush about him daily made me feel stifled. All those years I chased him, he got married, divorced, had a kid, lived quite the exciting life. Meanwhile, I'd just been foolishly pining for him all this time. This time, I finally gave up. Over the weekend, my elders arranged a blind date for me. The moment I saw Justin sitting across from me, I thought the world must have glitched. And he? He glanced at me once and asked if I wanted to marry him. Was he out of his mind? Why me? I asked, clutching my racing heart. Was I really better than that influencer who waited for him downstairs every day? You look more honest, he replied bluntly. Me? Thanks. 200,000. He paused, his tone unwavering. I'll give you 200,000 annually. It's a contract marriage. I won't interfere with your freedom. What makes you think 200,000? Before I could finish. Ding. 200,000 credited to my bank account. I felt he was insulting me. Theoretically, I should have returned the money and slapped him. Reality is, at 27, life taught me never to turn down money. If I had to choose between him and his money, I knew myself well enough to pick the money. Besides, I desperately needed it. Gritting my teeth, I murmured, "Fine." We rushed into marriage. Getting the certificate and paperwork took less than an hour. He handed me a marriage agreement. All I needed to do was pick up his child from school daily and play the part of a competent stepmother. But there was one condition: our relationship must remain private, especially at work. I understood. He'd hired a nanny to care for his child. $200,000 a year for nanny work, the pay was admittedly a bit disappointing. But the thought of being close to a handsome man made me reluctantly accept. On our wedding day, he flew out of town for business. I have 2 villas, one in East Suburb and one in West Hills. Pick whichever you want, he said coldly from the back seat as he left. You're giving it to me? I stammered nervously. I'd never seen a villa in my life. Would the property fees be too high? I feared I couldn't afford them. He turned his face slightly, glancing at me. It's for you to live in. Oh. I uttered 2 awkward O's to ease the tension. Just to live in, huh? The West Hills then. I love watching the sunset through the panoramic floor-to-ceiling windows. I said it with utmost seriousness. He looked at me but didn't respond. Didn't want to give it to me? Then the East Suburb is fine too, I whispered. The driver up front couldn't resist chiming in, West Hill Villa is just a place name, not about the sun setting in the west. You can see the sunset from the East Suburb too. Damn it! So embarrassing. I fell silent. West Hill it is. It's closer to the office. With that, he handed me a set of keys. When will you be back? I asked, trying to find something to say to ease the awkwardness. I regretted it the moment the words left my mouth. We were only in a contract marriage. It was written clearly in the agreement, no interference in each other's freedom. In a week, he replied flatly. Seeing I didn't respond, he sighed. Don't wait for me. Oh, okay. Got it. He glanced at me again, his eyes seeming to say, what do you understand, what do you understand? Focus on your own affairs. Don't waste your time on me, he added. I froze, a spark of anger flaring in my heart. I genuinely thought that remark was unnecessary. Does he really believe a second-hand man like him is some hot commodity? My first time picking up my kid from kindergarten had me a bit nervous. Tommy, your mom's here. The teacher, upon learning I was Anya, gave me a thorough once-over. A little boy with an Ultraman backpack stood before me, looked up calmly, and said, "She's not my mom." The atmosphere turned awkward. I reached out to take his hand, but he flung it away. Teacher, he might not be used to it yet, I managed a strained smile. I know. Tommy looks just like you, how could he not be? The teacher smiled back, teasing me. Just like me? My heart sank. Bruno, you're lying. Tommy clearly has a mommy, but you said he doesn't. A little girl tugged at a chubby boy's arm and pointed at us. The chubby boy glanced at me curiously, then lowered his head, flushing. My mom said that's his stepmom. I froze for a second, looking down at Tommy. His little face was tense, head bowed as he walked ahead. In the car, Tommy, are you hot? Should we turn the AC down? I coaxed him patiently. I hate you, he said bluntly, his words cutting straight through me. Fine. The moment we got out, Tommy headed straight to the supermarket. He went on a buying spree, grabbing toys and snacks until he filled an entire shopping cart, more than most kids bought in a whole semester. The driver told me this was typical behavior. I sighed. He wasn't my kid, so it wasn't my problem. That evening, Justin wasn't home. I called to report on picking up his son. Why was he upset? He asked suddenly after I finished. I don't know. Maybe, his teacher said he looks like me, and he thinks I'm ugly? Every time I glanced in the rearview mirror, I caught his son staring at me through it, glaring, to be precise. He's not ugly. Justin was silent for a long time on the other end before saying, "Don't mind him." Not ugly? My heart stirred a little. My first pickup mission was a total failure. Of course, all the subsequent ones ended in failure too. But I kept a positive attitude. No matter what Tommy said, I just smiled and did my job. Why get angry with a kid? On the weekend, my colleague Lena invited me to go shopping. I figured it was a good chance to buy my mom some loose t-shirts for easy changing at the hospital. In the mall's underground parking garage, right by the elevator entrance, a black Bentley was parked. I only noticed it because Justin had one just like it. The next second, it really was him. The window was half open, and through it, I saw a girl inside. In that moment, my heart felt a strange, indescribable ache. Lena spotted him too, nudging my elbow and whispering, "It's the boss." So the two of us started openly peeking over. What else do you want? Justin's voice was dry and cool, his eyes and brows tinged with ink. I don't want the bag, I don't want the necklace. I want you. The girl wrapped her arms around his neck, practically hanging on him. Just as Lena and I were marveling at how bold and explicit young girls are nowadays, then I'm sorry. Justin gently removed her hands from his neck. Why? Don't you like me? The girl looked flustered and upset. I don't like disobedient girls. Justin pushed her away coldly, tilting his head to signal her to leave. I can be good. The girl, now completely desperate, hugged him and tried to kiss him. Just then, Justin suddenly looked up and saw me. Caught in the moment, my gaze couldn't look away fast enough. The awkwardness was suffocating. He stared at me for several seconds, his expression unreadable. Delete my contact info. He tore his gaze away, looking down at the clinging girl. His expression darkened instantly. Don't be pathetic. The girl couldn't take it anymore. Grabbing her bag, she got out of the car crying. Lena and I hurriedly pressed the elevator button. As the doors closed, I saw him sitting in the car, staring at me. I couldn't decipher the emotion in his eyes, like he wanted to explain, yet seemed too disdainful to bother. I leaned toward the ladder. Anya, just now, in the boss's car? Was that the Instagram influencer with 5 million followers? I used to really like her. Lena excitedly pulled up her Instagram. She's pretty. I glanced at it and had to admit, Justin had decent taste. I idolized her, and she was groveling to our boss? Damn, what a letdown. I chuckled softly. What's the big deal? Money makes the world go round in the strangest ways. So, does that mean our boss's wife will be an influencer? Will she come to the office every day looking for him? Maybe, I stammered, unable to speak confidently. Every time this topic came up, I had to mentally recite the pre-marriage agreement. Lena pulled me toward the second floor, sighing as we walked. It's true. Nowadays, influencers marry rich businessmen. I never imagined our boss, a man with money, looks, and charm, would fall for an influencer too. Actually, that influencer hit the jackpot. Even as a stepmom, she's cashing in, yeah. I could only agree with her. You're still single. Next time I'll have my mom find you a good match. She paused. For ordinary folks like us, someone like the boss? Forget about it. Finding someone with a stable job and a good temperament is like hitting the jackpot. Yeah, you're right. Just as I finished, my phone rang. The caller ID read, Overnight Fortune. Justin? Who's that? Lena asked, smiling as she read the label. My cousin. I motioned to her that I needed to take the call. What time are you done shopping? His voice was the same as ever, deep and pleasant, making my heart skip a beat unexpectedly. 5 o'clock. I heard the click of a lighter on the other end. He paused. Can you take a taxi back? I need to drop someone off. It was phrased as a question, but his tone was definitive. Sure, go ahead. I should have just said okay, but I don't know why I added that last bit. The words came out sounding like a jealous little wife, and I startled myself. He paused again, as if explaining, I've got a thing on the waterfront tonight. Got it. What kind of gathering? Was he taking that influencer girl out, or meeting another one? My heart felt sour and heavy. But then I reminded myself, we were just in an arranged marriage. What right did I have to feel this way? Okay. He hung up without another word. The next second, ding. Bank account credited, 20,000. I stared at the number on my phone, lost in thought for a few seconds. So this is what he meant by liking obedient, sensible wives? Obedient enough to turn a blind eye when he's with other women? Sensible enough to take the money and play the role of his paper wife without crying or fussing? If I'd known being obedient would make him so generous, I could have played the good girl 24/7. A few days later, I took a day off and headed to the old town. Stepping into the dilapidated red brick building, I immediately saw several beer bottles scattered on the floor. You've been drinking again? My chest felt like it was stuffed with cotton. Seeing her like this, I could only sigh. You think you're tough now? Telling me what to do? My mother flung a beer bottle at me, smashing it against my forehead with a sharp pain. Gritting my teeth against the pain, I bent down to gather the shards, then pulled her up from the bed. Are you done causing trouble? If you are, let's go to the hospital. Every May, my mom started drinking. I knew it meant she was missing my sister again. No way. No money. She shook me off and went to splash water on her face in the bathroom. I called her a cab, shoved her inside, and took her to the hospital. Seeing the payment slip, she tried to toss it in the trash and walk away. I've got it. I showed her my phone balance. You're selling your body? Her face twisted at the glance. Thanks to her loud voice, the entire ward stared at me with strange looks. I gasped. Can't I just be earning it? Her eyes held disbelief. Hospitals are just money pits. Your old lady here's tough, this won't kill me. I felt mortified. But I understood why she acted this way. Because she was heartbroken over the cost. She too wanted to live with dignity and grace, but life kept delivering crushing blows. Come tell me about being tough after you're off the operating table. I ignored her and handled everything alone. After completing all tests, the surgery was scheduled for 8 p.m. With everything settled, she finally stopped fussing. You're 27 now. Find a good man and get married. I'm done with you. Just before being wheeled into the operating room, she suddenly said to me. She'd never spoken to me with such gravity before. It sounded like a farewell. No way. I was annoyed. You. My mother was furious. If you're so sure, jump off the operating table and argue with me later, I snapped back. Sitting on the bench outside the operating room, my mind was in turmoil. Justin was a blind date arranged by my grandmother. She said he was the grandson of my grandfather's comrade-in-arms and wanted me to meet him. She didn't know Justin's family ran a company and was incredibly wealthy. Their agreement to the meeting was probably just a formality. As for the whirlwind marriage, I didn't want to tell my mom. I knew exactly what she'd think. I recalled the last thing my mom said to me. You have an older sister, 2 years your senior, named Phoebe. She's in England. If I don't make it off the operating table, go see her for me. Her photo and address are in my phone's favorites. This was the first time I'd ever seen my sister's picture. She was beautiful, dressed in Gucci and carrying a Chanel bag in the photo. I couldn't help but marvel. My father, whom I'd never met, was truly wealthy. My grandmother had once confided that after my parents divorced, my sister went with my father while I stayed with my mother. My mother was incredibly selfish. She feared I'd be an ungrateful child, that after raising me for over 20 years, I'd end up leaving her for someone else. So from a young age, she told me I was her child alone, with no father. Everyone else has a dad. Why don't I? Your father is dead. Anya, if you don't want your mother anymore, leave right now. Every time I saw her trembling with rage, I backed down. Dead is dead. Why get angry at a dead man? I comforted her. The heart stent procedure took longer than I expected. I waited outside, feeling like time was dragging on endlessly. After about an hour, the doctor called me in. He said the catheter was in place and 2 arteries were 90% blocked, asking me to choose between 2 treatment options. Both options have their merits, but the price difference is significant. Are you the only family member present? Yes. I didn't fully understand, but seeing my mother lying there made my heart clench. Use the most expensive materials. Without hesitation, I signed the consent form as the doctor instructed. My palms were drenched in sweat. My hand trembled so badly I could barely write my name. Stepping outside after signing, I felt as if I were floating in midair, utterly ungrounded. It was the first time I'd ever made such a monumental decision. I always thought I was independent enough, so independent I didn't need anyone. But when I signed the consent form for my mother's surgery, I realized how terrifying loneliness could be. Terrifying enough to swallow my will whole, leaving me feeling utterly helpless. What if she really dies? I couldn't bear to think about it. She had a terrible temper. She smoked, drank, played cards, she did it all. When she lost her temper, she'd hit me, curse at me, and tell me to get lost. Where was I supposed to go? But even though she wasn't much of a mother, she'd still carry me to the clinic in the middle of the night when I was sick with a high fever, wearing her slippers. When others said they were closed and wouldn't see me, she'd stand at the door, arguing relentlessly until someone agreed to treat me. Even though she wasn't like a mother at all, when I got bullied by classmates, she'd take a drag on her cigarette and go ready to fight their fathers. Thanks to her, even without a dad, no one dared bully me at school anymore. She lived like a wreck herself, yet she still insisted on raising me. So I'm not going anywhere. I'll just stay by her side, waiting to see who wears the other down first. After sitting for a long while, my hands felt damp. I touched my eyes and only then realized I'd been crying. I thought I'd better go wash my face in the bathroom. As I rounded the corner, I saw 2 figures pass by my side. Only a few days in, and you've already dumped them and blocked them? That's pretty ruthless. A doctor in a white coat chuckled. Humph. The man in the suit snorted softly, saying nothing. Everyone's betting on which influencer will be next by your side. You keep swapping them out. What exactly are you looking for, young master? I'm done playing. The man replied calmly. That familiar voice suddenly pierced my ears, sending a chill down my spine. Justin? I froze in place. What was he doing here? Eavesdropping was terribly rude. But they were moving too fast for me to dodge. I was stuck. Not playing anymore? The doctor looked surprised. So young Master Justin is turning over a new leaf? Justin didn't speak, just smiled faintly before muttering, the old man set me up with someone. A blind date? The doctor perked up. Justin's going on a blind date? Before he could answer, Justin had already stopped right in front of me. I stood there, looking up at him, meeting his gaze. Suddenly, I didn't know where to put my hands or feet. The doctor noticed our awkward exchange and paused. An acquaintance? He asked. My boss, I blurted out before he could finish. Oh, one of your employees. Justin didn't answer him. He just looked at me, then glanced behind me toward the operating room at the end of the corridor. Why are you here? Accompanying someone for surgery. Instinctively, I didn't want to tell him the patient was my mother. He glanced at the interventional suite door behind me and frowned slightly. Just you? Yeah. Only then did I remember I'd come for the bathroom and needed to hurry back. I'll be right back. Gotta go. All right. I practically fled toward the restroom. Behind me, the doctor resumed chatting with him as if my little interruption hadn't happened at all. At tonight's reunion, you'll have to help me out. I can't drink, got work tomorrow. I couldn't hear their conversation after that. When I emerged from the restroom, the hallway was empty. I hurried back to wait outside the operating room. Recalling their exchange, a wave of sadness washed over me. Even his classmates knew how much he loved to party. So my existence was truly nothing more than a marriage contract. What was I still hoping for? After waiting a while longer, my mom was wheeled out. The surgery went smoothly, and my mood finally lifted. That night, I bought her some congee and fed her. She was in too much pain to scold me much. Once she fell asleep, I hired a nurse. I had to go back to work and couldn't stay at the hospital. As I swiped my card, Justin crossed my mind again. Thanks to him, I could swipe my card so decisively. I smiled bitterly. Just as I was about to take the elevator down, my phone rang. Leaving already? It was Justin. I didn't understand why he asked that. Was he still at the hospital? Yeah, about to leave. Meet me at basement level 2. Basement level 2? Without thinking much, I hurried to the hospital's basement level 2. The moment I stepped out of the elevator, I spotted his black Bentley. He rolled down the window and motioned for me to get in. I steeled myself and pulled open the back door. Front seat. 3 simple words, carrying an authority that brooked no argument. Okay. I nervously climbed in. Truthfully, every morning I rode with him to the office. He sat in the front passenger seat, I in the back, and I'd get out 1 block before the office. This was the first time he'd driven while I sat beside him. He turned his head to see me fasten my seatbelt before starting the car toward the villa. Aren't you going to the reunion? I'd assumed he'd be at a drinking party at this hour. So fond of eavesdropping, he countered. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, I hastily explained. He didn't speak, just glanced at me. I looked up to see his long fingers tapping lightly on the steering wheel, his expression unreadable. The reunion wasn't much fun, he offered simply, by way of explanation. Oh. I didn't know what else to say. How did your friend's surgery go? He asked. Fine. Should I drop by to say hi? I know the department heads there. No need. I refused immediately. I didn't want him to know it was my mom, nor did I want my mom to find out about my ridiculous actions. He glanced at me, then fell silent. At work, I barely spoke to him. At home, he was often away, or by the time he returned, I was already asleep. I slept in the guest room. By the end of the day, we barely exchanged a word. Anya, did you go to school here before? He suddenly asked again. Yeah, Oak Grove High. I answered honestly. Truthfully, I had my own reasons, because he went to Oak Grove High too. That's quite a coincidence, he said, raising an eyebrow at me. So we're alumni. It is a coincidence, I murmured. But inside, a flicker of disappointment stirred. He had no idea I'd applied to Oak Grove just for him. Yet by the time I got in, he'd already left for college. So, have we met before? His question made my heart skip a beat. Did he remember me? Seeing I didn't answer, he turned his face toward me again and smiled. Probably not. I only stayed here for a year, just my senior year. I didn't speak, only realizing the truth, he didn't remember me. He'd only stayed a year, only seen me once. But I'd seen him countless times. At the school gate, girls always surrounded him asking for his contact info. On the sports field, girls always brought him bottled water. I wanted to say something to him, but I dared not approach. Thinking of this, I gave a bitter smile. Probably. He fell silent and drove on. After a long silence, I finally couldn't hold back. Boss, I want to ask you something. Did you really choose me back then because you thought I lived honest? He visibly froze, staring at me for a long moment before suddenly laughing. You actually believed that? What kind of answer was that? Because of that smile, those long-buried feelings of infatuation began to stir again, leaving me restless and unsettled. The next day, I couldn't bear the torment any longer and wanted to ask him what he meant by last night's remark, but he had already left on another business trip. I had no choice but to drag myself to work with dark circles under my eyes. The team leader dumped a pile of documents on me, demanding they be organized before quitting time. I sat at my computer typing and sorting, so busy I skipped lunch. After work, I had to pick up Tommy. Starving, I grabbed a bread roll from a street vendor and wolfed it down. Rushing like mad, I was 10 minutes late picking him up. To make up for it, I bought him several toys from a store we passed. Tommy stood stiff-faced at the school gate. I got him into the car, handed him the toys, and tried to coax him. Then Justin's call came through. Did you pick him up? Yeah. I'll be back in 2 days. He hesitated. Is there a bag you want? A bag? I didn't register it at first. Just as I was about to refuse, a toy flew at me, smacking my eye so hard I couldn't open it. I clutched my eye, gasping in pain. After a few seconds, I forced myself to stay calm. Let's talk later. Tommy's having a meltdown. Then I hung up. What are you doing? My eyes stung from the hit, and I was getting annoyed too. Without you, my mom would come back. The little guy glared at me with wide, round eyes, his face flushed crimson. I thought for a few seconds. Was he upset that his dad called me? Usually, I turned a blind eye to his antics. As long as he didn't cause trouble, anything went, being a stepmom was tough enough. But today, I realized this wasn't sustainable. I lowered my voice, trying to get him to understand. Tommy, this is grown-up business. You're still little, you know? I didn't know where his mom had gone, or if she'd ever come back. But if Justin had gone so far as to ask me to marry him and become his stepmom, it was clear he hadn't considered reconciling. I know everything. Don't lie to kids. You're the bad guy. You stole my dad. Where did I steal him from? Without me, your mom wouldn't have come back either. I told him straight. He stared at me, silent, his lips trembling with anger. The next second, tears spilled from his eyes. Seeing him cry, my heart softened. He's just a child. I shouldn't hurt him like this. Just as I moved to hug him, he shoved me away violently. He fished something out of his backpack and thrust it in front of my face. I have a mom. This is my mom. She'll come back for me. He stubbornly insisted on showing me, proving he was right. My heart ached for him. When I finally focused on the person in the photo, my mind went blank. Because the photo showed my sister, Phoebe. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. Only cold sweat trickled down my back. "This is your mom?" I asked, unable to believe it. "Yes, my mom is 100 times prettier than you," he declared proudly, lifting the photo. Suddenly, I had no desire to argue with him. I couldn't understand how he could be my sister's child. Even more baffling, Justin's ex-wife was my sister? I wanted an answer, but my mind was blank. It felt like my soul had been drained. Back home, Tommy's mood had finally improved. Auntie took him to wash up, while I lay in my room, still reeling from the shock. My thoughts raced. I remembered Grandma telling me my sister had gone to live in England with my father. I remembered my mother, before being wheeled into surgery, worrying about my sister I'd never met. I remembered Justin asking me to marry him the very first time we met. I remembered the kindergarten teacher saying Tommy looked like me. He didn't look like me at all. It was me who looked like my sister. I even began to wonder if every time Justin suddenly spoke to me in that gentle tone, he was really talking to my sister. I also wonder if every time Mom got drunk and tearfully said she missed me, she was actually talking about my sister. Then what about me? What's the point of my existence? Am I an accident? Or someone's temporary stand-in, a shadow? This world is too surreal. When Justin messaged me that night, my mind was filled with questions. Tommy asleep? Yeah. Nothing happened earlier, right? Just threw a little tantrum. His nightly exchanges with me were limited to checking on the kid. I was like a hired robot, reporting every detail to him. I thought that was the end of it. I'm going to a designer bag exhibition tomorrow. Take a photo of the one you like and send it over. I paused for a second, then smiled. See? We're just a hired relationship. When I obeyed, he was generous with his payments. If I performed well, he'd even buy me bags. I was just one of his many women, the cheapest model at that. No, I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. For the first time, I replied coldly. After chasing him for so many years, licking his boots until I had nothing left, I still had to raise his child with my sister. I'm already miserable enough, now I have to keep throwing myself at him? Screw it. I'm done. After sending that, I wiped away tears and cried in the shower. When I'd cried my fill, I buried my head in the pillow and passed out. The next day, I went to work as usual and picked up the kids as usual. After a few days of walking around like a zombie, I went to the hospital to pick up my mom. The moment we stepped outside, she got a call asking her to go play cards. What's with that look? The doctor never said you couldn't play cards. I stayed silent. First you make me quit smoking, then drinking, now you won't even let me play cards. Might as well just kill me outright. Seeing her regain the energy to yell at me, I silently thought to myself, good riddance. I pulled out my phone and transferred her $10,000. Calmly, I said, if you'd taken my sister with you back then, would you have ended up this miserable? She froze, staring at me in disbelief. After a long moment, she screeched, you ungrateful brat. You want to run off with your rich dad too, don't you? Go ahead then. If you think your mother's useless, leave and don't come back. Watching her flail about, I suddenly felt like laughing. Even now, she still thinks I'm after money. I just feel sorry for her, this foolish woman. The moment she senses I might leave her, she gets so flustered she's practically jumping out of her skin. I said nothing more, just silently fetched her medicine and drove her back to the old town. I didn't want to pick up the kids, or even go back to that house. But I couldn't afford to break the engagement. I still had to grit my teeth and mechanically get through it all. After a few days of grinding it out, something clicked. I got my hair permed into big waves and dyed it chestnut brown. Only when I saw how completely different I looked from the sister in the photo was I satisfied. At the company meeting, Justin showed up again. What's up with Mr. Justin lately? Why does he show up to every single team meeting? I never see him at other teams' meetings this often. My team leader was sweating bullets. He's probably got his eye on our new intern. Stop talking nonsense. The intern blushed bright red and denied it repeatedly. Then who else could it be? Who else is single? Isn't Anya still single? A colleague teased. I was just quietly watching the spectacle unfold, never expecting it to land squarely on me. Anya? My team leader looked at me doubtfully. No way. Mr. Justin doesn't like that type. Thanks a lot. I don't like his type either, I snapped back. The moment I finished, the conference room fell silent. Then a tall figure walked past me with deliberate ease and took the seat at the very front. Justin. I felt annoyed. How did he hear that? But also a little pleased. Whatever he wants, whatever. I'm out of this game. Today, my colleague was presenting to Justin. My beautiful coworker was speaking with passion and enthusiasm up front, yet his gaze kept lingering on me. Why is he staring at me? I buried my head, too lazy to acknowledge him. After the beautiful colleague finished her presentation, the conference room suddenly fell silent. Everyone waited for his feedback, but instead he blurted out. What's wrong with your face? I lifted my head from where it had been buried and found everyone staring at me. Only then did I remember I had a band-aid plastered on my face. I accidentally got it while plucking my eyebrows, I said. The atmosphere grew even more awkward. Everyone stared at us in shock. The beautiful colleague presenting the plan up front was utterly mortified. He calmly withdrew his gaze. I have no objections. Hearing this, our team leader finally exhaled in relief. After the meeting, people asked me what was going on with Justin. No idea. How should I know? I played dumb. I didn't understand him either. Was he deliberately messing with me? In front of everyone? Go get this document signed by Mr. Justin, my team leader approached me. I haven't wanted to see him lately. He shows up at every meeting and it's giving me heart palpitations. I'm not going. I'm clocking out. I refused outright. You won't? Then do you want to leave work, or get fired? Fine. I grabbed the documents and gritted my teeth as I headed to his office. He was buried in paperwork. Everything seemed normal. But just as he signed, he suddenly remarked, "Nice hair color." I froze. You like it? He seemed taken aback by my question, pausing a few seconds before replying, "It's okay." I'll change it another day then. He froze. I grabbed the documents and left. That evening, I picked up Tommy. His teacher had assigned a craft project. I crouched beside the coffee table helping him work on it. He sat back, relaxed, watching cartoons. Though we'd always clashed like oil and water, since I'd let go of the tension, we'd become like water and fire, neither interfering with the other. Every day when I picked him up, he wouldn't speak to me, and I wouldn't speak to him. If he wanted to buy toys, I'd help carry them back after he charged them to his dad's card. If he wanted to watch cartoons, I'd do his homework. We'd finally found our own balance. Halfway through, Justin came home. He changed his shoes, went upstairs to change into his pajamas, and then joined us. Seeing him approach, I walked straight out. You help him with that. I'm going to take a shower. He watched me without a word. When I emerged from the shower, he was leaning against the doorframe, staring straight at me. My heart skipped a beat, and I started to close the door. I'm going to bed. My shift's over for today. I dismissed him bluntly. His scorching gaze burned my shoulder, and I suddenly realized I was still wrapped in a towel. He didn't speak. He pulled out a cigarette, bit it between his teeth, and tilted his head to light it. Gone was the serious, focused demeanor from work. He looked more like a delinquent youth. Speak up. He showed no intention of leaving. His eyes seemed to pierce right through me as he spoke slowly. What's going on? Nothing. Did Tommy upset you? No. Did your team leader pile work on you? No, then what is it? Money troubles? He tilted his head, lighting another cigarette, looking on the verge of losing patience. Money troubles? It's not like I'm short on cash now. I finally decided I didn't like him anymore. He thought I was making a scene. Even if I was, he seemed to think it had nothing to do with him. A pang of sadness still crept into my heart. He sighed, his tone softening. I have been busy lately. If you need anything, just tell me. I don't want anything anymore. I tugged at the corner of my mouth. It's only a year anyway. Once the year is up, we'll just get divorced. I added. Such a fuss. His patience snapped. Fine, he spat out finally. With that, he turned and went back to his room. I closed the door, lay on the bed, and felt a dull ache in my heart. See? He doesn't care. To him, my tantrums are nothing but the antics of a clown. They stir no waves at all. Life goes on. People can't live on love alone. That afternoon, I went to pick up Tommy. As soon as I arrived at kindergarten, the teacher told me Tommy had hit someone. I froze. Look! My son has 2 bumps on his head from your kid hitting him. What are you going to do about it? The parent, sporting bright red nails and towering stilettos, stormed over aggressively. Tommy clenched his fists, his little face tense and silent. Beside him stood a chubby boy, the same classmate who'd called me a stepmother last time. His name was Bruno. What happened? I crouched down to ask Tommy. He didn't answer. Mommy, it hurts so much. The chubby boy wailed, his cries growing louder. Serves you right. Tommy glared at him, refusing to back down. My head was pounding. Look at this lack of manners. Cursing people out? What kind of parenting is this? Bruno's mom raised her hand to strike him. My reflex was to look at Tommy. Clearly stung by the remark, his little face flushed crimson, tears pooling in his eyes but refusing to fall. Watch your language. I shielded Tommy behind me. What do you want? Your kid hit someone, and now you think you're in the right? Bruno's mom looked ready to fight. Let's talk this out calmly, not in front of the children. The teacher stepped in to mediate. I swallowed my anger. Fine. I'll talk to the kid first. Teacher, could you check the surveillance footage? I pulled Tommy into a corner. I crouched down, looking up at him. His small frame stood perfectly straight, refusing to speak. I sighed, taking his hand. All right, don't be scared. If you didn't hit anyone, let his mom make a scene. She can't touch you. But if you did, I'll take the blame. Tell me when you're ready. I knew I wouldn't get an answer from him. I gave up. If he really did hit someone, I'd accept it, whether it meant apologizing or groveling. Just as I was about to stand up, I heard him whisper softly. I don't have a mom anymore. My body froze, and I stared at him. I don't have a mom anymore, he repeated. As soon as the words left his mouth, tears the size of beans rolled down his cheeks. The impact of those words was overwhelming. For a moment, I didn't know how to react. After a second, I managed to steady myself and reached for his hand. Why would you think that? Your mom just doesn't have time to visit you right now. She's dead. He wiped his tears, trying to stop crying, but they kept falling. Dead? My heart took a heavy blow. Suddenly, I remembered my own childhood. Back then, whenever I asked my mom where Dad was, she always said he was dead. And my mom had a terrible temper. If I asked too many times, she'd hit me. After that, I never dared to ask again. I'd just hide under the covers and cry. Thinking of this, my nose stung, and I couldn't help but hug his small body. Who said that? I realized my voice was choked with emotion as I spoke. Bruno, he replied, then couldn't hold back any longer and burst into tears on my shoulder. I held him, feeling his tiny body tremble with grief. No matter how stubborn he was still just a child. He lied to you, I comforted him. Then, remembering something, I asked, does he say that often? Is that why you hit him? He was already sobbing uncontrollably. A surge of anger flared within me. I picked him up and strode straight toward the chubby boy. Did you tell him his mother died? I glared at him. The boy, frightened, threw himself into his mother's arms and wailed. Why are you being so mean to my son? His mother pushed me aside. Holding the child, I lost my balance and nearly fell. I steadied myself. Well, your son's a real gem, isn't he? Going around saying other people's moms are dead. His mom's dead. What about me? You abandon your own child, then expect others to teach him? Forget about us apologizing. You'll never get that out of us. You should count yourself lucky I'm not suing your family for emotional distress. Bruno's mother glanced at her child, then at me, likely feeling humiliated. What did you say? She lunged forward, ready to strike. I handed Tommy to the teacher. Before her palm could land on my face, I grabbed her wrist first. Enraged, she yanked my hair with her free hand. I rolled up my sleeves and went at her. The fight got so intense the teachers couldn't break it up. So half an hour later. Teacher's office. Justin sat across from me, his eyes deep and unfathomable. The teacher recounted the whole incident, but he kept staring at me. What are you looking at? I tilted my head back. I wasn't backing down. Apologize? Not in this lifetime. After the teacher finished, Justin spoke calmly, get the surveillance footage, collect evidence from the scene, and hand it over to my lawyer. If compensation is needed, we'll pay double. But if anyone bullies Tommy or my people at school, sorry, we'll fight this to the bitter end. We won't compromise. We reviewed the footage and saw Tommy hadn't hit anyone. It was Bruno, the chubby kid, who'd pushed him, missed, and ended up falling himself. The woman with the red nails turned pale instantly, forcing a smile. Oh dear, kids' roughhousing is normal. No need for a lawsuit, right, teacher? In the end, with the teacher mediating, Bruno and his mom apologized voluntarily. Later, back home, I sulked into my room. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. I walked over to open it, saw it was Justin, and quickly shut it again. This was beyond embarrassing. My hair was a wild mess, my shirt was completely askew, and my neck and face were covered in scratch marks from that red-nailed woman. Open up, his deep voice came through. It's not convenient. I'm going to sleep. I didn't want him to see me looking so wretched, even though he'd already seen enough this afternoon. He must be utterly disappointed in me. You were so brave during the fight, but now you're afraid to open the door? He sighed, his voice softening. Open it. Let me see. I had no choice but to open the door. Then I spun around instantly and trudged dejectedly toward the bed. He followed, pulled up a stool, set a first aid kit on the floor, and just stared at me. Lift your head. His voice was hushed. I didn't move. The next second, slender fingertips lifted my chin. I met his eyes and felt my heart skip a beat. Can't win, but still fight, he stared at me. Who says I didn't win? She was tough enough. I refused to back down. That red-nailed woman was only strong because of her manicure. He looked at me, his stern expression suddenly breaking into a smile. He must be mocking me. So infuriating. I pinched my fingers. Instead, he opened the first aid kit and carefully disinfected and bandaged my wounds with cotton swabs. His movements were so gentle, his breath so close to mine, that I felt uneasy. I leaned back, trying to create distance. Does it hurt? He paused. No, then why are you fidgeting? With that, he reached out and pulled me closer. I held my breath, daring not to move. It felt like I was under his spell. Whatever he told me to do, I obediently followed. Anywhere else? He asked after treating the wounds on my hands and face. Here. I yanked the fabric away from my shoulder. He froze. Noticing the strange look in his eyes, I belatedly pulled my clothes back into place, my face flushing bright red. Truthfully, I wore a spaghetti strap top beneath my shirt. While not overly revealing, it exposed a patch of my back, which was indeed a bit. I'll handle this myself, I said, my face flushed. Turn around, he commanded in a deep, unwavering tone. It's awkward. We're married, came the cool touch on my back. No need for shyness. I wasn't shy. How could I be shy? He applied the lotion gently, then suddenly stopped moving and fell silent. Just as I was about to ask what was wrong, I remembered the tattoo on my back. Oh no. What's that tattoo? Ah, it's just some designs I liked when I was a kid. My heart was pounding. Cherry blossom petals spelling out the letter J? I felt completely suffocated. Why did you get that? It's something I liked when I was younger. When I was younger, I liked him. It's pretty. Soon, the cool sensation traced the outline of the petals in a circle, sending shivers down my spine. He withdrew his hand, said nothing, silently finished applying the ointment, then helped me pull my shirt back down. Lost in thought, he suddenly pinched my finger. Pretty slender. He stared at my ring finger, measuring it against his own. Startled, I yanked my hand back. Ah, average. I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. I felt inexplicably afraid he might suddenly do something else. Fighting, getting tattoos, seeing my expression, he suddenly smiled. I underestimated you. What? Did he realize I wasn't the good girl he thought I was and regret it? I'll come back tomorrow night. Huh? Come back tomorrow night? I didn't understand what he meant. He didn't elaborate, just picked up his medical kit and left. The next day at work, I was preoccupied and couldn't focus. I kept thinking about what he said last night, what he did, and my resolve started to waver. That's how unrequited love works. You make up your mind to say goodbye, you promise yourself you'll never like him again, but then he shows a little kindness, says something open to misinterpretation, and you start overthinking everything. I remembered the cherry blossom tattoo on my back, and then I remembered that boy. It was back when I was in elementary school. One day after school, I went to the card room to find my mom. I waited until late, but she still didn't want to leave. I had no choice but to take the keys and go home by myself. Instead, one of her card-playing friends followed me into an alley. That man tried to touch me. I was scared out of my wits, bit him, and ran away. As I passed a group of students at the alley entrance, I screamed. Only one person stopped. I rushed over and threw myself into his arms. He didn't push me away. Big brother, I encountered a bad man, I cried, begging him for help. He shielded me behind him and gently said, Don't be afraid. I'm here. The man saw someone and slipped away from the alley. He walked me back to the old town. Are you home alone? Where are your parents? He glanced at the empty room and frowned. My mom's out playing cards and hasn't come back yet. I was still shaking, not having recovered yet. He didn't say anything, just patted my shoulder. Don't be afraid. I'll wait outside until your mom comes back before leaving. He pointed to the cherry blossom tree by the door. So he stood there under that tree, phone in hand, for hours. Every time I woke from a nightmare and peered out the window, he was still there. Moonlight bathed his face, stretching his shadow beneath the tree long and thin. That elongated shadow felt like a ray of light piercing the darkness of my life. That night, my mom didn't come home until dawn. When I woke up, there was no one left beneath the cherry blossom tree. Inside the house, I found his school ID and learned his name was Justin, from Oak Grove High School. From that moment on, I held on to a stubborn dream, to get into the same school as him. I stayed in the old town, away from those mischievous kids, studying hard until I got into Oak Grove High. But then I saw him listed among the top graduates, admitted to UC Berkeley. I threw myself into studying day and night again, and got into UC Berkeley too. Then he went off to study at Cambridge. He'll never know I exist in this lifetime. But he ended up with my sister. He had a child with her. He'll never know I lurked in the shadows, never know my secret, unseen crush. Thinking of this, the bitterness in my heart made it hard to breathe. Then I remembered Tommy saying yesterday that Mom had died. My heart skipped a beat. If that's true, how heartbroken would my mother be? After agonizing over it for ages, I finally made it through the workday. I decided to confront him. When I got home, he was actually there, unheard of. I knocked on his study door. He opened it. "What is it?" He stood in the doorway, looking at me with confusion. "Did you marry me because I look like someone else?" I gathered my courage and got straight to the point. He froze for a second, looking genuinely puzzled. "What are you talking about?" "Sweetie, wait a minute. I'll come to your room." Was he avoiding the topic because he felt guilty? But that mystery weighed on my heart. I couldn't wait any longer. If you only see me as a tool for picking up the kids, or as someone's substitute, expecting me to be a docile machine, sorry, I can't do that. Find someone else. I was determined to get answers. Explain yourself. What tool? What substitute? A weathered, elderly voice suddenly echoed from behind him. Then a white-haired old man, leaning on a cane, stepped out. I jumped in surprise. Justin sighed helplessly, pressing his hand to his forehead. "My grandfather," he murmured. "Grandfather?" "Call him grandfather," he nudged me with his eyes. "Grandfather," I dared not refuse. "You got married without telling anyone? Keeping it from your family? What are you two up to?" Grandpa shot Justin a fierce glare. "Been busy lately," Justin mumbled evasively. "Made a few stinking bucks, huh? So now you hide your granddaughter-in-law from me, the old man?" Grandpa nearly whacked him with his cane but held back, mindful of my presence. "How could I hide it from you? Here you are." Justin supported Grandpa. "You're getting older, don't get so worked up." I stood frozen, not daring to move an inch. "What's her name?" Grandpa lowered his voice and smiled at me. This sudden shift in demeanor left Justin completely dumbfounded. "Anya," I whispered softly. "Anya? You're my comrade's granddaughter? You little rascal, didn't you say it didn't work out?" Grandpa scolded Justin, then turned to me. "Tell Grandpa how this brat bullied you." "Huh?" I looked at Justin, who shrugged helplessly. "Why look at him? Don't be afraid. Grandpa will stand up for you. Don't ask her. She's probably scared of you." Justin dragged Grandpa straight into the study. "Ask me whatever you want." "Wait, let me see." Grandpa was pulled into the study and the door shut. Just as I hesitated whether to leave or stay, the door opened again. "Go wait in the guest room. Give me 10 minutes." "Okay." I nodded. "You little brat. Did you two fight? Why send her to the guest room?" Grandpa had overheard again, somehow. I fled in fright. 10 minutes later, he knocked on my door. His tall frame leaned against the doorframe as he looked at me, both annoyed and amused. "Spill it. A stand-in? The person you like? What newfangled nonsense is this? Isn't that what it is?" I whispered back. A contractual marriage. How many times do I see you in a month? How many words do we exchange? And every conversation is about your child with another woman? All I need to do is take care of your child while you're off having romantic affairs with other women. Isn't that right? He visibly paused, then fell silent before laughing again. If you want a substantive marriage, I'm not opposed to giving you that. This left me speechless, my heart skipping a beat. You're overthinking it. But he remained unflappable. You insisted on the guest room. I never locked the master bedroom door either. I was furious. What did he think he was implying? Did he think I was making a scene because I wanted to sleep with him? I wanted to retort, but the words failed me. I was completely at his mercy. I don't have anyone I like. I never did, and now, he paused, his gaze settling on me. Does that count? I can't answer you right now. Does he even blush when he lies? What about Tommy's mom? Didn't you ever like her? I asked him directly. What does she have to do with it? He countered. Of course she does. She's my sister. You had a child with her, then married me. What do you take me for? The thought made me feel so wronged I wanted to cry. He fell silent, clearly upset. Phoebe is your sister? Yes. He stopped talking altogether. I'll take you somewhere this weekend. With that, he turned and walked away. Without any explanation. He left, but my heart remained unsettled for a long time. Lying in bed, I kept thinking, I really should have shot back. I don't care about a man who slept with someone else. Yes, that's exactly it. Why didn't I think of that then? I grew even angrier. With days left before the weekend and no explanation, every day felt like torture. Was he hesitating about how to break it to me? He must have been. The thought of confronting him, of leaving this home, weighed heavily on my heart. The next day. Anya, did you fight with my dad? Tommy asked, looking up at me. Yeah. I looked utterly miserable. Happy about it? Kids are little devils. Not bad, he said, grinning at me. I should have been angry, but seeing his unabashed joy, I couldn't help but smile too. Glad you're happy. So will you leave? He asked again. Probably. If you leave, will Dad find someone else to make crafts for me? His concern was surprisingly focused on this. Of course. But what if they're not as good as you? Kids shouldn't be so greedy. You want me to leave but also want me to do crafts for you. I wanted to pinch his little cheeks, but feared he'd cry, so I held back. Can't I? No, life is truly unpredictable. My relationship with Tommy actually grew closer because I was leaving. He never spoke to me before, but now he had so much to say. Later, he'd often ask, Anya, you and my dad didn't make up? Anya, you're actually pretty too. You don't have to like my dad. Anya, if you miss me later, you can come see me at kindergarten. Anya, call me Auntie, Anya sounds better. Yes, he always called me by my name. It was enough to drive anyone crazy. Anya, my dad's back. You better go back to your room. He scrambled up alertly, pushing me with his chubby hands. Me? Aren't you in a cold war with my dad? He asked me with deadpan seriousness. Does a cold war mean I have to hide? But whoever speaks first loses. Looking at his earnest little face made me want to laugh. No idea where he picked up these theories. But I really didn't want to see Justin, so I went straight back to my room. Once inside, I heard voices outside. Dad, it's no use going up there. Anya won't talk to you. Oh. What did she say to you? Dad, I heard her on a voice call with someone. It was a guy. Silence on the other end. I froze. After pondering for a while, it must have been the team leader calling me, overheard by Tommy. That kid's so mischievous, he twisted it into this. I considered explaining, but upon reflection, it wasn't worth it. In the middle of the night, half asleep, someone suddenly grabbed my hand. It was Tommy. "What's wrong?" I quickly sat up and hugged him. "Anya, maybe you shouldn't leave," he asked hesitantly. "It's the middle of the night, why are you just in your pajamas? Come on up." I pulled him onto the bed, and he burrowed into my arms. "Anya, I don't think my mom is coming back." He hugged me and started crying again. "If you leave, there won't be anyone to help me fight." Sigh. My heart softened. I reached out and gently stroked his head. All right, I won't leave. Go to sleep." The next morning on my way to work, I stepped to the curb. By all logic, Justin should have already left by this hour. Instead, a black Bentley pulled up right in front of me. "Get in." He rolled down the window. I stood there, pretending not to hear. He glanced at his wristwatch and lowered his voice. "Half an hour left. Hard to hail a cab here. Don't want your team leader catching you late. Get in." "He won't." I flashed him a smile. The next second, I was in my team leader's car. "Anya, if you're this late again, you're fired." My team leader glared at me, furious. Yes, I was almost late. I begged for help in our team chat, and my team leader drove a kilometer out of his way to pick me up. "Team leader, calm down. With you here, I'd never be late." I buttered him up. His expression visibly softened. Arrived at the office, more meetings. Justin showed up again. What's with Mr. Justin lately? Why is he suddenly so focused on our team? Could he be planning to promote me? My team leader frowned again. "Could it be he's targeting you?" a colleague suggested. "Get lost." My team leader instantly flared up. "Help." Every time he sits down, I blank out. Same here. These routine meetings feel worse than a court sentence. Aren't you guys into handsome guys? Now you're getting your fill and can't handle it? He's handsome, sure. But you gotta be alive to enjoy it. My coworkers were complaining nonstop. Honestly, I was feeling down too. I was even more convinced he was targeting me. Because every time I looked up during meetings, I caught him staring at me. This time, I couldn't be bothered to look away. Gritting my teeth, I stared right back. So there we were, colleagues passionately presenting up front, while our eyes locked in a silent bow midair. Finally, he broke first, lowering his gaze and suddenly smiling. What the hell is he laughing at? I clearly won, yet his smile made me feel defeated. The next second, ding. Bank account credited, 5,000. With a message attached, take a taxi. Don't get in another man's car. The air froze. Because I had set up a voice notification for incoming payments. Now everyone in the conference room knew my bank account had received 5,000. In an instant, all eyes turned to me. I caught a few sympathetic glances from colleagues. My team leader stood up, trembling with anger. "Anya!" He wanted to slam his fist on the table, but with Justin present, he settled for a light tap instead. His voice dropped. "How many times do I have to tell you to silence your phone during meetings?" "I'm sorry." I backed down instantly. My fault. I stood there, utterly lost. "Mr. Justin, sorry about that little incident. I'll make sure to discipline her properly afterward," the team leader said with a forced smile. Everyone followed his gaze back to Justin. Compared to my nervousness and helplessness, the culprit himself looked completely calm. His long fingers swiped through his phone before he finally put it down. All right, let's continue," the team leader urged the colleague to proceed. The colleague plowed through the presentation with obvious reluctance. Fuming with rage, I couldn't swallow my anger. I grabbed my phone and sent him a message. "Think this is funny? How long do you think this pittance will get you a ride? Does having money make him so special? Who I ride with is my business." He's got some nerve meddling. His gaze, fixed on the PowerPoint slides, suddenly shifted to his phone screen. But his expression remained unchanged. See? Every time I'm furious, he stays so calm. The next second, ding. Bank transfer received, 10,000, is that enough? The loud voice cut through the meeting room. My mind went blank. Damn it. I was so shocked I forgot to silence my phone. Anya. My team leader practically jumped out of his skin. Not just him, I wanted to slap myself too. Why didn't I mute it again? Dating is fine, but could you please not flirt during meetings? My team leader was practically fuming. I'm sorry, I apologized, head bowed. Get out! My team leader ordered me to leave. Fine. With a headache, I picked up my laptop and started walking out. But as soon as I took a step, someone stood up. Justin. He stood up too and headed for the door. Boss, I didn't mean for you to leave. My team leader was stunned. Machem, Justin didn't say much, just looked at me. You guys continue. I've got something to do. With that, he walked out of the office without looking back. I returned to my desk, feeling annoyed. I didn't understand why he was teasing me like this. I needed an explanation, but he wouldn't say a word. Ask your team leader for time off. He suddenly appeared beside me. What for? I looked up at him. We hadn't spoken in days. I even felt like he'd been avoiding me all this time to avoid giving me an explanation. He glanced at his watch and smiled. The drive takes 6 hours. If we leave now, we can still make dinner. Where are we going? He stared at me. You'll see when we get there. Getting time off is complicated. My team leader might not approve, I protested, mostly out of stubbornness. Want me to ask for it for you? He countered. That won't be necessary. I forced a smile. So when my team leader emerged from the meeting, just as he was about to scold me, he learned I was requesting leave. Anya, it seems love has completely clouded your judgment lately. You want time off to pursue romance? He stammered in frustration. While relationships matter, work comes first. Machem, I nodded. So can I take the leave? All right, my team leader rolled his eyes in exasperation. He grabbed my leave request, scribbled his signature, tossed it back at me, and snapped, "Don't let me see you here today." Got it. See you the day after tomorrow. I flashed him a huge grin and slipped away. Justin drove the 6-hour trip. Tommy and I curled up in the back seat and fell asleep. By the time night fell, we pulled into a suburban estate. Tommy bolted out the door the moment we parked, shouting, "Grandpa! Grandma!" I froze. Was this Justin's family home? And those two inside were his parents? Just as I was marveling at how modest Justin's parents' house seemed, he grabbed my hand. Come on. It was the first time he'd held my hand. His palm was so large, mine felt like a tiny speck nestled inside it. Feeling his warmth, my heart began to race. He led me into the estate. As soon as we entered, I saw 2 elderly people holding Tommy, beaming with joy. Honey, Justin's here. The man looked at me, paused, then turned to Justin. And who's this? Grandpa, this is Anya, my new mom. Tommy beat him to the punch. The man looked startled, then broke into a broad smile. Uncle, this is Anya, my wife, Justin introduced me solemnly. Uncle? The title left me utterly confused. The seated woman stood up, feeling her way toward me. You're married? Quickly, let Anya come in and sit down. Yes, groping. Her eyes, she seemed unable to see. Okay. Justin pulled me into the inner room. The elderly couple brought out some fruit and served Tommy various candies. The man asked Justin about work matters. I sat quietly listening beside them. I didn't know their exact relationship, but I could sense Justin held them in deep respect. At some point, the woman slowly approached, holding a painting. Anya, this is our first time meeting you. We don't have much to offer, but this painting, we'd like to give it to you as a wedding gift. She walked over, took my hand, and solemnly placed the painting in my palm. I unfolded it. It was a 2-meter-long watercolor depicting a pair of swans on a lake. You could tell the painting was quite old, the edges were yellowed. Unsure whether to accept it, I looked to Justin for guidance. "Take it," he said, then lowered his head. When he looked up again, his eyes were red. Later, Justin went outside to help the man water the plants, and the two of them talked about something. The woman tugged at my hand, but seeing my hesitation, she pulled back. "Anya, though I can't see, I can feel you're a good girl," she said with a smile. Seeing Justin finally open his heart and marry you has put my mind at ease. I was completely confused. After pondering for a long time, I couldn't help but ask her. What heartache was he carrying? "He didn't tell you?" she murmured. "Well, that's just like him. He buries everything deep inside, never saying a word, yet he's the most loyal and devoted person you'll ever meet." "He never mentioned Tommy either?" "No," I answered honestly. She sighed, reaching out to take my hand but missing slightly. I quickly stepped forward to steady her. Smiling, she led me into the bedroom. There was a photograph on the bedroom wall. Justin was in it. And standing beside him was another boy. "This is Justin, and this is my son, Tom," she said, pointing to the positions in the photo with practiced ease. "Tom?" I pondered this. They grew up together, the closest of brothers. They attended the same school all their lives and even went to study in England together. Oh. Hearing this, I felt a wave of deep emotion wash over me. Someone else like me? Who went to the same school? So your son must have been very close to him. Why did they lose touch after starting work? The Justin I usually saw had no close friends. He kept to himself, and the only person he seemed to get along with was that doctor I met last time. He passed away 4 years ago. Her tone was calm. But I saw tears glistening in her hollow eyes. I froze. My reaction was split-second. I apologized immediately. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, it's okay, it's all in the past." She sighed, wiped her tears, and smiled reassuringly at me. I felt even more guilty. In England, he and Justin went out together. They were in a car accident. Before they plunged off a cliff, Justin jumped out. He didn't have time to, her voice caught again. "I'm so sorry." Not knowing how to comfort this elderly woman, I simply reached out and put my arm around her shoulders. "It's truly okay, really. My wife here, look how scared you are." After a moment, she continued, "Justin always blamed himself, thinking he was responsible for my son's death. To make amends, he insisted on returning from England to work here. My son's girlfriend at the time was pregnant, but she didn't want the baby. Justin convinced her to have it and promised to raise the child himself. Fearing the child would be gossiped about without parents, he gave the boy his surname, publicly claiming him as his own. He named him Tommy, carrying on my son's name. Whenever he could, he'd drive back with Tommy to visit us, treating us completely as his own parents. It's been hard on him. At 32, unmarried and raising a child, he's scared off so many good girls." She sighed as she spoke. "He always says he doesn't want to find someone, that he has no interest in marriage this lifetime. We're all worried about him, afraid he'll never move on. Thank goodness he met you." She took my hand again. "You're a good girl. Don't let him slip away." All these years, my eyes may have been blind, but my heart wasn't. He's a good kid. Hearing all this, I was in a state of shock for a long time, unable to come to my senses. The child wasn't his, it was his brother's. And his brother's girlfriend was my sister. Suddenly, I understood why Justin hadn't spoken to me for days. He wasn't avoiding me, he was avoiding the past. He couldn't escape the pain of what happened, so he couldn't give me an explanation. Thinking about the trouble I'd caused, I felt utterly ashamed. He wasn't that kind of person, I'd been too petty. Yes, I solemnly promised his mother. The next day, the elderly couple walked us to the intersection. Tommy waved goodbye. They smiled and told us to drive safely. But as they turned away, I saw them wipe tears from their eyes in the rearview mirror. My heart ached. Did Auntie tell you everything? Justin came to my room that evening. Yeah. He approached, fingering a small ornament in my room. Do you know who that painting was for? Huh? Who? I was confused. Auntie worked on it for a long time. It was for Tom's wedding, he said calmly. Unfortunately, her eyesight failed before Tom could marry. He paused. After Tom passed, she cried every day until she lost her sight completely. My heart sank. Then, I stammered, at a loss for words. And you dared take it? He shot me a disapproving look. Didn't you tell me to take it? You take things just because I say so? Since when did you become so obedient? He fixed me with a sharp stare. Then I'll return it. I started to pack it up. But he grabbed my hand. Why would you take something only to give it back? Then what should I do? I was losing my mind. What else can we do? He lowered his head, looking at me. Keep it for the wedding. The wedding? I was stunned. Don't you want it? His gaze was intense as he studied me. The old man came to see me. There's no avoiding it. They're already making arrangements. Just bear with it. This isn't about effort. I snapped. Then what is it about? What is it about? How should I know? The information overload left me reeling. You have a month to adjust, he said, patting my shoulder. Then he walked out the door. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. I knew exactly what the problem was. The question was whether he liked me. If he didn't like me, then getting married was already a mistake. Having a wedding ceremony on top of that would just be compounding the error. Justin. I called out just as he was closing the door. He paused and turned back to look at me. I hesitated over how to ask. Asking someone if they like you was just too hard to say. Seeing me silent, he turned his whole body toward me, leaning casually against the doorframe. What? Want the master bedroom tonight? In an instant, I flushed bright red. The question died on my lips. I won't take the bus tomorrow morning. I'll get a taxi. I tossed the words at him, turned away, and ignored him. Whatever. Finding himself uninteresting, he closed the door. From that day on, Justin and I drifted into an ambiguous relationship. Whenever he had no work after hours, he'd join me to pick up Tommy from school. He'd stay home most evenings too, watching me help Tommy with crafts. Before bed each night, he'd chat with me for a while. Mostly, he'd listen quietly, flipping through a book. Before leaving, he'd always say, "If you need me, I won't turn off my phone or lock the door." I understood the implication. Even without kisses, hugs, or even physical contact, these little gestures made my heart race every day. Justin suggested meeting my mom this weekend. After much deliberation, I agreed. For this meeting, I took time off work early to tidy up my mom's room and repeatedly warned her not to say anything out of line. This time, my mom was surprisingly reasonable. Knowing I was bringing my boyfriend home, she was overjoyed. Don't worry, Mom will behave perfectly, she assured me, patting her chest. She runs an arcade in the old town now, no longer gambling. She just keeps an eye on things and helps serve tea and water, it suits her well. Leaving my mom's place, I felt a huge weight lifted, my steps lightening as I walked home. That evening, when I opened the door, I spotted a pair of high heels by the entrance. My heart skipped a beat. Then came the sound of an argument from the living room. If you can't bear to leave your child, then marry me. You know I've been waiting for you all this time. Hearing that woman's voice, I froze in place, struck dumb. She had come after all. Impossible, Justin replied calmly. Why is it impossible? You'd rather marry some random woman than marry me? The woman sounded furious. You think I'd be with my brother's girlfriend? But you know I've only ever loved you. Being with Tom was just to spite you. Why couldn't you see me? She wept, her tears streaming down her face. My heart twisted in pain. I knew exactly who she was. My sister. But I never imagined she was in love with Justin, in love with him and yet carrying Tom's child. And now she was threatening Justin to marry her? I knew Justin adored Tommy. He'd never let him go. I felt tense, dreading his answer. The next moment, I don't like you. Never have, never will. He paused, his voice low. You're not taking the child. Ha, heh, she suddenly laughed through her tears. Do you really think a child can leave his mother? Have you considered what he'll become without a mother? He'll be sensitive, insecure, driven to extremes. Can you take responsibility for those consequences? Justin fell silent. My heart clenched in pain. I remembered Tommy crying to me, Anya, I don't have a mom anymore, she's dead, that wounded look in his eyes. The child is innocent. If he knew the mother he longed for had returned only to use him as a bargaining chip, how heartbroken he'd be. I changed my shoes and walked over. Justin saw me first. The emotion in his eyes, that helplessness, that unresolvable pain, broke my heart. Who are you? Phoebe stared at me, her eyes filled with confusion. She glanced at Justin, and her confusion turned to jealousy. Sister, I called out calmly. This was the first time I'd seen her in 27 years. Everything I knew about her came only from my grandmother. I'd imagined what it might be like if we ever met. Would she hug me and call me little sister? Would she cry and say she'd missed me all these years? Or would she treat me like a complete stranger? But I never imagined our first meeting would happen in a scene like this. God sure has a twisted sense of humor. I calmly told her she had a mother living in the old town who missed her terribly, and that I was now married to Justin. She stood there, utterly unconcerned about Mom's health or well-being. Only one thing mattered to her. You live in the old town? Don't you have any self-awareness? What gives you the right to marry Justin? I liked him first. What gives you the right to steal him from me? I froze. Who says you came first? She looked utterly confused. Justin looked utterly confused. Go see Mom sometime. She misses you. I sighed, unwilling to argue further. My mom's in England. Some woman in the old town wants to claim me as her daughter? Ridiculous. If you need money, just say so. She stood with her hands on her hips, her haughty demeanor cutting deep. I'd rather beg on the streets than take a penny from you. I turned away, fighting back tears. I thought of my mother. That foolish woman, every May on my sister's birthday, was consumed by grief until she was barely human, and the precious daughter she longed for wouldn't even acknowledge her. How ironic. Get out. Justin's voice was steady, but the anger beneath it was palpable. Justin, I won't repeat myself. Phoebe stomped her foot in fury and ran out crying. Later that evening, Tommy was taken away after all. Hearing the news, I still couldn't process it. My heart ached for Tommy, and I wondered how a mother could mistreat her own child. Maybe my worries were unfounded. But that night, I couldn't sleep at all. I went downstairs to the kitchen for a drink of water. I was startled to see someone sitting on the sofa. Justin? He hadn't changed his clothes or turned on the light, just sat there quietly. Shrouded in darkness, he looked profoundly lonely. Why aren't you sleeping? He spoke first when he saw me. Can't sleep. I walked over and sat beside him. And you? He didn't respond, his mood deeply subdued. Worried about Tommy? I tentatively asked. He looked down uncomfortably, his voice faint. He didn't bring the teddy bear he sleeps with every night. I froze, speechless for a long moment. I usually think Justin is too strict with Tommy, rarely smiling, and Tommy is even a little afraid of him. He really can't be called a gentle father. But he knows Tommy needs to hold his teddy bear to sleep every night. I didn't know how to comfort a wounded father, so I just stayed quietly by his side. Should we take the teddy bear over to him? I tentatively suggested. He glanced at me, then stood up. You go ahead and sleep. I'll run out for a bit. I'll come with you. He paused for a second before replying, all right. I'd assumed Phoebe's place was far from us, but it turned out to be only an hour's drive. Justin clearly knew the route well. Have you been here many times? I asked. Yeah. He didn't seem to be hiding anything. After a moment, he added, whenever Tommy gets sick, he cries for his mom. I always bring him here in the middle of the night, hoping Phoebe would at least see him. And then? She refuses to see him. He spoke of the past with casual indifference. I fell silent. I recalled my own mother scolding me, Anya, do you know how hard I worked raising you? Do you realize how much I suffered keeping you awake at night? I barely slept a wink for months, surviving on sheer willpower. If you ever dare abandon your mother when you grow up, I'll break your legs. But Justin? He was a man, unmarried, raising a child alone for 4 years. For 4 years, facing his child's constant pleas for his mother, how lonely and helpless he must have felt. In that moment, I felt genuine pity for this man from the bottom of my heart. Phoebe's house was a large villa. The car stopped at the gate, and I hesitated about going inside. A thread of curiosity tugged at me, and I followed him in. It was the middle of the night, and all the lights in the villa were off. After Justin knocked on the door, he sent someone to fetch the homeowner. A middle-aged man in silk pajamas emerged from an inner room. His hair had streaks of gray, but he looked remarkably alert. The instant our eyes met, my heart skipped a beat. I felt an unfamiliar tension wash over me. Was this the man rumored to be my father? Justin, sit down. How did you get here? He greeted Justin warmly, but the moment he saw me, his expression turned unfriendly. I brought something for Tommy. Is he asleep? Justin stated his purpose directly. He was restless for a while, but he's asleep now. He stood with his hands behind his back, glancing at me hesitantly. You know how Phoebe feels about you. All these years, you can't be unaware. I heard from Phoebe that you found someone to marry? He shot me a contemptuous look. Seems you're not picky about who you choose. I stood there, suddenly drained of all strength. Living in the old neighborhood, being tough, being a single parent, many looked down on me. I'd heard remarks like this countless times. I thought I'd grown immune to it all. But he was my father. The contempt and disdain in his eyes felt like a sharp blade piercing my heart. All my dignity lay trampled beneath his feet. Mr. Mike, this is my wife. I suppose our business dealings are no longer necessary. Justin set down the teddy bear and pulled me toward him. My father's face paled with shock. But I lifted my chin and met his gaze. My name is Anya. He looked at me, clearly unwilling to know who I was. My mother's name is Tanya. Nice to meet you. I'm afraid I've made a poor first impression. I forced a smile with every ounce of strength I had, then turned and followed Justin out. In that split second as I turned away, I saw the shock and disbelief in his eyes. I smiled inwardly. But as I smiled, tears welled up. In that moment, I knew my heart had finally given up. Mom was right. My dad was dead. I had no father. Outside the door, Justin looked at me, tears streaming down my face, suddenly at a loss. He must have been wondering why I was crying. Don't cry. He pulled me close, looking down at me with a panicked tone. It's my fault. I shouldn't have brought you here. He still thought I was upset by Mike's words. Justin didn't know that the only reason that man could hurt me was because of who he was. It's not your fault. I turned away, trying to preserve the last shred of dignity in front of him. He's my father, I forced a smile, trying to sound indifferent. You might not believe it, but this is the first time I've ever seen him. I wiped my tears. I thought I could hold it together, but when Justin looked down at me with that pained expression, my defenses crumbled instantly. He said nothing more, just stared at me for a long time. Finally, he pulled me into his arms and held me silently. Anya, don't cry, he murmured, stroking my hair. Over and over, he repeated, Anya, don't cry. But my sobs only grew louder, utterly uncontrollable. I'd imagined those words countless times. When my mother screamed and beat me. When classmates mocked me as a fatherless bastard. When I worried about my mother's health but couldn't afford her treatment. I always imagined my father walking up to me, holding me close, and saying, Anya, don't cry. Then taking me by the hand to overcome every hardship. I never dared mention my longing for a father in front of my mother, yet in the lonely nights, I always thought of him as a distant savior. But life proved far crueler than I ever imagined. On the way back, I didn't speak. Justin didn't ask me again either. Perhaps he wanted to spare me the last shred of dignity. In the days that followed, Justin treated me very well. He waited for me at work, waited for me after work. But I always found excuses to avoid him. Finally, I simply moved out, relocating to the old neighborhood where my mother lived. Finally got a conscience? Decided to come back and keep your mom company? Mom was pleased to see me helping out at her arcade, serving tea and water between shifts. But after a few days, she sensed something was off. Fought with your boyfriend? Didn't you say Justin was coming this weekend? Why didn't he show up? We're not getting married. I kept my head down, feeling utterly drained. Not getting married? What the hell are you doing? Mom was furious, ready to hit me. One second she was smiling about my filial piety, the next she was packing my things and throwing them out. Mom! I was locked out. Get lost. Who needs you here? You're an eyesore. Mom wouldn't budge. Where am I supposed to go? I felt tears welling up. Where else? Go to your boyfriend. If you fight, solve the problem. What good does hiding here do? I don't keep trash around. I told you, we're not getting married. I'm not worthy. I don't want him feeling sorry for me. I sat on the floor by the door, sobbing uncontrollably. Mom flung the door open and yelled at me, "Who dares pity you? I raised you right, you have a job, you're better than anyone. Who's blind enough to reject you? I'll fight them to the death." I froze for a second. Go fight Dad then, I mumbled, slumped on the floor. Her expression twisted into something ugly. After a long pause, she managed to ask, "Did you go see him?" Yes. I lifted my head. I went to see him, but he thinks I'm trash. My mother froze. Damn Mike, she cursed, stomping out the door in her slippers. I stumbled back to my room in a daze. My mom returned late at night. She yanked open my door and kicked the stool out from under me. Stop crying. Your mother scratched that bastard's face. If he ever dares say another word about you, I'll rip his mouth off. I stared at her in horror, her hair a mess, a bruise at the corner of her eye. You went and got into a fight? What else? Mom sat down, still muttering curses. Haven't thrown a punch in so long, my arms are rusty. You're crazy. How old are you? Getting into fights? The doctor said you can't get worked up. My heart clenched in pain. What's there to fear? It won't kill me, she reassured me nonchalantly. If he dares bully you, I'll crawl out of my grave to beat him half to death. I fell silent. Taking a deep breath, I touched the bruise at her temple. Does it hurt? It doesn't hurt. My mother flicked my hand away. We sat in silence. After a long while, my mother finally spoke. I've never regretted the divorce. She paused. Everyone thought I was crazy, begging me not to leave him, to give up being a wealthy wife and choose poverty instead. But he had severe violent tendencies. When I was pregnant with your sister, he beat me countless times. He hit me whenever he was unhappy, and he hit me when he drank. I just couldn't take it anymore. I thought having a child might change him, but I learned a person's nature never truly changes. I endured it for 2 years, until you were born. Then I couldn't take it anymore and asked for a divorce. When it came to fighting, your mother here never feared anyone. I could have fought him to the death. I'm not the type to admit defeat. But then I had children. Your sister was so terrified she cried herself hoarse. I couldn't just disregard that. When we divorced, I wanted to take both you and your sister. But your father had money and power, while I had no income. The children weren't awarded to me. Only you, because you were still so young, the judge gave you to me. I'd never heard her speak of the reasons behind the divorce. Honestly, I'd always assumed it was my mother's temperament that caused the split. I never imagined it was because of my father's domestic violence. I stared blankly at her, listening to her recount that tragic past, desperately wanting to embrace her from back then. What about my sister? I asked her. Weren't you worried about her? Worried? How could I not be? Mom sighed. I asked around. She did well for herself, good grades, got into a top high school, then a prestigious university. Later, she even studied abroad in England. Your father wasn't much of a man, but the stepmother he found for her, she was decent. She didn't abuse her. I saw them walking down the street, arm in arm, laughing and chatting. They looked just like a real mother and daughter. She paused. What could I do? She left me when she was 2. Of course she sees her stepmother as her real mother. What memories could a 2-year-old have? Better that way. My mother stood up, looking at me. Anya, are you still my daughter? She asked. If you like him, go for it. What are you afraid of? That Justin guy, is he the one in your diary? Mom. You read my diary? I jumped to my feet in shock. Who read your diary? I was cleaning, and his bookmark fell out. I was the one who put it back for you. What you're like, do you think I don't know? All the kids in the old town were out playing, but you were studying. I knew exactly why. Having my long-hidden crush exposed by my own mother was utterly humiliating. I heard about you and your sister, and that child. Both are my flesh and blood. What belongs to you, no one can take away. Think it through carefully. With that, my mother closed the door and left. I stood alone in my room, lost in thought. I love Justin. I want to marry him. I've thought about this for a long time. But before, he stayed with me because of the child. Now that the child is back with his biological mother, what reason do I have to hold on? I'm lost too. The department dinner was approaching, but I had no heart for it. I didn't want to go. You look like you're going through a breakup, the team leader shook his head. Got dumped? I guess so. What kind of blind fool dares dump my team member? My team leader practically leaped to his feet. But you said I was worthless. My team member? Even if she were worthless, she'd still be 100 times better than any woman out there. Thanks, that felt like a comfort. Stop moping. Let's go drinking tonight. Pick any guy you like, and I'll get him drunk for you. My team leader dragged me along no matter what. But isn't that, if the guy doesn't get drunk, you won't get a chance. My team leader had a whole set of theories. I had no choice but to let him drag me along. Team leader, aren't you going to invite Mr. Justin? A colleague reminded him. You guys go ahead. I'll be right there to pay my respects. Usually at gatherings, everyone would politely invite Justin, but he never attended. Everyone understood it was just a formality. Then, when we arrived at the barbecue place, the team leader's face turned extremely awkward. "Behave yourselves, Mr. Justin is here." He gave us a meaningful look. A colleague who was stuffing his face nearly choked on a slice of pork belly. Startled, I lowered my head, avoiding his gaze. "Mr. Justin, please sit here." The team leader wiped the top seat repeatedly with a paper towel. "I'll sit here." His deep voice sounded above me. The next second, a pair of shiny black leather shoes appeared beside my feet. I felt uneasy. "Is that okay?" he asked me in a gentler tone. What else could I say? I moved my bag from the seat. "Sure." His masculine presence beside me made me fidget. Colleagues slowly began toasting him. He accepted every toast, tilting his head back to drink. I worried about him but couldn't bring myself to say anything. Instead, I buried my head in grilling meat. Every time I looked up, I caught him occasionally glancing down at me. I looked away again. Throughout the entire meal, he barely ate anything, only drinking. It was clear he didn't enjoy grilled meat at all. When the waiter brought over the steamed cheese sweet potatoes, I was distracted and stood up to unwrap the foil. "Careful, it's hot." Though he was drinking with them, he suddenly reached out and grabbed my hand. I looked up and saw him staring at me without restraint. Then he motioned for me to sit back down. He reached over himself, opened the foil, and carefully spooned portions into my bowl. "Is that enough?" he asked softly. "Enough, it's enough," I stammered. My coworkers were completely dumbfounded. The atmosphere was utterly awkward. Yet he remained completely unfazed, continuing to drink with them. After a while, he looked down at me again. When they weren't paying attention, he whispered, "Is it too hot?" No, I was terrified my coworkers would catch us, so I dared not speak to him. He, however, grew bolder with each drink. Finally, he reached under the table and grabbed my hand. He didn't say a word, just held it there. My heart raced. I tried to pull away, but he wouldn't let go. "Justin." As everyone got more relaxed and started joking around, I squeezed his hand and whispered his name. "Hmm?" He turned his whole body toward me, burying his face close to mine. Clearly drunk, he just stared at me. "Let go," I murmured. "Someone might see us." He squeezed my hand back. No, this guy. A boss of all people, acting like such a jerk. I was flustered. To avoid being noticed, I stayed glued to him, not daring to move an inch. Seeing my nervousness, he couldn't help but curve his lips upward. More girls arrived at the next table. They kept glancing over this way. I knew exactly why. Justin was naturally striking. With a few drinks under his belt, his jacket off, and his shirt unbuttoned to the second button, this restrained look of his was enough to make anyone dizzy. I glanced at him, then at the girls beside us secretly taking photos, and sighed silently. He just went ahead and lowered his head to ask me, "Jealous?" "If you want to look, go ahead." What's it got to do with me? I kept my head down, not daring to meet his gaze. "If you're so jealous, what are you gonna do when I go to drinking parties in the future?" He gave me an amused look. "Don't talk to me." I couldn't take it anymore. This constant threat of exposure was driving me mad. True to form, he fell silent. The next second, he fastened the top button of his shirt with one hand. Seeing him like that, I remained silent, but deep down, my heart fluttered against my will. In the end, the group of girls beside us still wouldn't give up. They actually plucked up the courage to come over and ask for his number. "Little girl, do you even know who he is?" The team leader was itching to punch someone. He hadn't anticipated that bringing the boss over would cause such a huge hassle. First the photos, then the discussions, and now people were actually coming up to ask for his number. Of course I know. He's my crush. Handsome guy, add me as a friend. She boldly reached out to grab Justin's arm. Squeak. His colleague was both amused and exasperated by the girl's audacity. Justin, however, remained stern. He sidestepped her completely, refusing to let her touch him, showing her no mercy. Sorry, I'm married. He maintained his gentlemanly composure, leaving her no opening. My colleague looked stunned. I looked stunned. The young girl looked stunned. You're married? Can't we just be friends? The girl felt humiliated but refused to give up. No, he remained unyielding. She wouldn't like it. His hand beneath the table tightened around mine. My face flushed instantly. In that moment, I admitted it, my heart was racing wildly. How could I not be? This boy I'd seen countless times in my dreams, holding my hand, not explicitly confessing his feelings, yet resolutely cutting off every romantic possibility. After the dinner ended, he finally released my hand. Only then did I realize my palm was damp with sweat from his touch. Mr. Justin, shall I drive you home? The team leader hailed a cab and opened the door for him. No, you go ahead. He waved dismissively, standing by the roadside and lighting a cigarette. All right. The team leader turned to me. Anya, get in. I'll drive you home. Team leader, you're playing favorites, a colleague protested. Favoritism? Anya just got dumped. How could I let her go home alone? As her team leader, I can't just leave her like that, my team leader retorted. Oh, Anya, you're heartbroken? A colleague asked me. How should I respond? I looked up. Justin stared at me through the smoke, his expression unreadable. It's nothing major. I said, about to get in the car. I'll drive you. Justin, who'd been silent, looked straight at me. Perhaps realizing it was too direct, he added, it's on my way. Oh, Mr. Justin, you and Anya are going the same way? You live over there too? Justin remained silent. The team leader, sensing awkwardness, dared not ask more. After arranging the rest of the group, everyone piled into cars and left. Finally, only he and I remained. I felt a headache coming on, yet also a quiet thrill. Only I knew the truth, what route. Old Town was east, West Hill Villa was west, they'd never be going the same way, not in a million years. I'll just take a cab back. It's too late, I said. You know it's too late. He stubbed out his cigarette and hailed a taxi. I'll drive you home. I couldn't refuse again, so I reluctantly let him take me. But the whole ride, I felt uneasy. I feared he'd see my living conditions and look down on me, pity me. I also feared that if he learned about my past, even the slightest spark of affection he had might vanish. But in love, the greatest fear is being looked down upon by the other person. Even though secretly loving someone already makes you feel utterly insignificant, you still hold your self-respect above everything else. That's how contradictory I am. He remained silent the entire ride, looking genuinely drunk. Why don't you just drop me off at the intersection? I asked him. Let me see it, okay? He took my hand again, trying to comfort me. There's nothing to see. It's run down. I just want to. He insisted, so I let him have his way. At the intersection, he pulled me to a stop and glanced down the alley. You've lived here since you were little? He asked, frowning. Yeah. What about after school in winter when it's already dark? Nothing. I've walked this path tens of thousands of times. I could find my way home with my eyes closed. He glanced at me, said nothing, just reached out and ruffled my hair. I led him forward. Suddenly he stopped and asked, have we met before? Huh? He looked around again. I've been here before. My heart skipped a beat. He remembered? Then he smiled, as if remembering something. When I was in senior year, Tom and I walked past here. A little girl got attacked by a bad guy and threw herself into my arms. He paused. Tom asked me the next day how we'd walked so far with no one around. He'd spent ages looking for me. My heart raced as he calmly recounted his story about me. It was insane. Oh. And then? Where did you go? I feigned ignorance. The little girl was terrified. I stayed outside her window all night until her mom came home. You really stayed all night? I'd assumed he'd left halfway through. How could I leave? He laughed. She was so scared. Every time she woke up, she'd peek out the window to see if I was still there. It wasn't even your problem, and you stayed all night. I don't get it either. She was kind of cute, calling me Big Brother. He trailed off, then suddenly laughed as if realizing something. Just a little sister? You're jealous of a kid? His train of thought stunned me. Who's jealous? I glared at him. How could I be jealous of myself? Don't deny it, he said, lowering his head to look at me intently. You look a lot like her. I froze. Could it be we're sisters? I teased him with a smile. He didn't respond, seeming to ponder the question seriously. The next second, I'm here. You should go back. I pointed toward the house. He looked up, and when his gaze landed on the cherry blossom tree, his pupils flinched. Before he could react, I went inside, leaving him alone outside. I went back to the windowsill and leaned over to watch him. He stood outside for several seconds, frozen, as if he'd finally understood something. He lit a cigarette and slowly walked toward the cherry blossom tree. He raised his hand to touch the tree, head bowed as he smoked. When the cigarette was finished, he lifted his head and just looked at me. He looked and looked, then smiled. He stood there beneath the tree, not moving, not checking his phone, just staring at me. How could I possibly sleep? When I tossed and turned and ended up leaning on the windowsill again, he walked slowly toward the window. Can't sleep? His eyes brimmed with indulgence. How could I sleep with you here? He smiled. Then keep me company. Okay. Suddenly, he bent down, leaning close to me. He was too tall for the low windowsill, the position awkward for him. When did you get that cherry blossom tattoo? He asked with a smile. Feeling his breath so close, my face must have flushed bright red. Freshman year. Oh. He studied me calmly. You liked me since freshman year? Caught off guard, I froze, speechless. Then why didn't you come find me? I did. I answered honestly. He looked surprised. How come I never knew? I did my undergrad in finance at UCB. His brow twitched. Master's at UCB too. You went to Cambridge. I couldn't get in. Hearing this, his previously relaxed expression turned serious. He stared straight at me. Sorry, I didn't know any of that. His voice was dry. He reached out, his hand finally resting on my cheek. You don't need to apologize. Liking you is my own business, you don't owe me anything. Thinking back to my own obscure, unrequited crushes, my nose stung and tears threatened to spill. He just looked at me, lost in thought, murmuring softly, I really am a jerk. Then he reached up, tucked my hair behind my ear, and the next second, cupped my face and leaned down to kiss me. The world spun, and I forgot to breathe. After a long while, he released me. My face was flushed beyond recognition. Don't like me anymore, he said, cupping my face, his eyes filled with deep affection. Let me like you instead, okay? Okay. I nodded obediently. You don't have to be so good. You can be a little mischievous. Just don't hide from me anymore, okay? He looked at me again, his eyes sparkling like the night sky, and leaned down to kiss me once more. The moonlight outside stretched a shadow long and thin. Finally, my cherry blossom boy had returned. That night, he didn't leave. He just stood there under the cherry blossom tree, watching over me all night. The next morning, my mom woke up startled. Is that person outside crazy? Standing there all night? It's Justin, I said with a smile. Justin? Mom practically jumped out of her skin. He came to make up with you? Sort of, he's so handsome. You should have invited him inside to talk. You're such a. My mom went out grinning and called him in. He was surprisingly easygoing and followed my mom inside. Meeting her for the first time, he seemed a bit nervous, sitting there properly, no trace of his usual bossy swagger. Judging by my mom's ear-to-ear grin, she was quite pleased with Justin. Since it was the weekend and I didn't have to work, I went to help out at my mom's arcade. Justin came along too. I was a bit worried. What could he possibly do? I could serve tea and water, but I couldn't very well make him do that too. Turns out, nothing stumped my mom. Justin, do you know how to play cards? A little. We're missing one player here. Why don't you join in? Sure. I was truly amazed at my mom asking her future son-in-law to play cards on his first visit. I sat nervously beside him, worried he wouldn't know how to play. Turns out my worries were unfounded. After just a few rounds, the older gentlemen across from us were playing cautiously, afraid to make a move. How could he be so good? Anya, is this your boyfriend? He's quite handsome and plays well. Ah, Grandpa, you flatter him. I blushed at the compliment. Justin turned his head and whispered, Grandpa? MHM. That one over there is my grandfather who raised me since childhood. That one is my maternal grandfather, my mom's uncle. I explained to him. He fell silent. Then, almost immediately, he started losing consistently, feeding cards to Justin. My relatives' expressions began to soften. By the end, they were all grinning from ear to ear. Anya, I hear your boyfriend runs his own company. His future looks incredibly bright. I think this young man is quite promising too. Remember to have your mom notify us when you hold the wedding. I offered a polite smile and said I would. I gave his sleeve a little tug. I'd clearly overestimated him. With card skills like this, he was truly in a league of his own. Why don't I take over for a bit? I whispered. It's fine. You rest first, I'll spend some time with you later, okay? What could I say? I just couldn't bear to watch him play so poorly. Seeing that several of my relatives had each won several thousand from him, he smiled and pulled out the cash. My apologies. I'll play with you elders again when I have more time next time. I have some business to attend to. Right, go attend to your work. Winning so much money from you, as your elders, we almost feel embarrassed. Your skills still need a little work. He didn't skip a beat. It's your skills that are superior. I'll come back for another lesson next time. Good. This young man is truly decent. He stood up, took my hand, and led me straight outside. Did you lose to them on purpose? I asked. MHM, he looked down at me. As long as they're happy. He lifted his wrist to check his watch. It's still early. Accompany me somewhere? Okay. You didn't sleep at all last night. Aren't you tired? I asked. Not tired. He squeezed my hand. He ended up taking me to a private, custom jewelry boutique. The moment the shop assistant saw him, she greeted him warmly. Mr. Justin, you're here to pick up the ring. This must be the madam? Yes. The entire process was a blur to me. The assistant led us into a VIP room and retrieved a jewelry box from a safe. See if you like it. He signaled for me to open it. With a racing heart, I opened it to find a pink diamond ring. It wasn't excessively large, but it was incredibly delicate and feminine. He took it out, lowered his head, and helped me slide it on. A perfect fit. When did you? I ordered it a long time ago. I just never came to pick it up, he said with a smile. How come I didn't know? You were so busy being upset with me, how would you have known? He held my hand, the one wearing the ring, in his palm, admiring it. You little heartless thing. Once it's on, you're not allowed to take it off. Though, I doubt you'd have the guts to anyway. He gripped my hand, looking satisfied. After getting the ring, his driver brought the car around, and we finally went back to his home. His grandfather beamed at the sight of me, and upon seeing the ring on my finger, he was full of praise for Justin. You finally did something proper. His parents were in the UK, so we had a video call with the whole family. They didn't pry into my background, simply stating they respected their son's choice. Everything happened so fast. By the end of the day, I felt like I was living in a dream. That night, I went back with him to the West Hill villa. When I stepped out after my shower, he had already fallen asleep on the sofa. He'd had an exhausting day as well. I walked over and crouched on the floor, shamelessly staring at him. His eyes were closed, his features as beautiful as a painting, with a bit of dark stubble beginning to show on his chin. Compared to his younger self, he had gained a touch of mature stability. This boy I had longed for with all my heart was now sleeping right in front of me. I wondered, was my shadow finally in his dreams too? The thought filled me with an unprecedented sense of happiness. Taking advantage of his sleep, I grew bold and leaned in to kiss his forehead. But just as I lowered my head, before my lips could touch him, his eyes suddenly snapped open. In those eyes, a wave of emotion stirred. With just one look, I fell right back into his starlight. My heart began to throb violently. His lips parted slightly. What are you trying to do to me? My heart skipped a beat. My first instinct was to flee, but he caught me by the waist. Nothing, I was just looking. My heart was in a panic. His gaze traveled from my eyes all the way down, his Adam's apple bobbing. Staring at a normal man in the middle of the night, just looking? Then I won't look anymore. I reached out to push him away. He gave me no chance to escape, instead pulling me even closer. His voice dropped an octave, turning low and husky. If I don't let you look your fill, what kind of normal man would I be? He turned over and pressed in to kiss me. Later, he whispered softly, coaxing me, Anya, don't be afraid. What else could I do? I dug this hole myself, I had to see it through, even on my knees. The wedding was the following week. He treated me wonderfully, though he remained relatively restrained, keeping work and love strictly separate. At home, he showed his full colors as a man, but at the office, he maintained the cold, aloof demeanor of a boss. I seriously suspected he had a split personality, otherwise, how could he compartmentalize so clearly? How could he always stay so calm? At the office, my team leader was still as temperamental as ever, scolding me daily over the proposals I drafted. Anya, I'm telling you, if your love life is gone, then focus on your career. Get those results up. Right, okay. Go revise it again. Got it. I took the proposal back to my desk and spent the entire morning revising it, not even finding time for lunch. Justin was away on a business trip again, leaving me feeling quite pitiful. By the afternoon, the team leader reviewed it and a smile gradually appeared on his face. You do have some potential after all. Take this to Mr. Justin for him to see. It seemed he was finally satisfied. Isn't he out of town? He came back early. I just ran into him at the elevator. Oh. I didn't refuse. I took the proposal to find him. Having not seen him for a week, I actually missed him quite a bit. However, he was never affectionate at the office. Thinking of his cold attitude made me feel a bit sad. I knocked and entered. He was buried in documents. See? Cold as ice. This is the new proposal. My team leader asked me to bring it to you. I handed it over. Leave it there. He didn't even lift his head, didn't even give me a glance. I was fuming. I set the proposal down and turned to leave, but a voice came from behind me. Close the door. I was confused. And while you're at it, lock it. I was even more confused. I didn't know what he was up to, but I obediently closed the door. The moment I turned around, his tall frame was standing right behind me. One of his hands lifted mine while the other turned the deadbolt, locking us in. I missed you so much. The words had barely left his lips before he kissed me. How can I miss you this much? He whispered sweet nothings into my ear. My heart raced. I've always been a sucker for his voice. Eventually, he let me go and returned to his seat with a satisfied look. You're getting more and more reckless, I scolded him, my face flushed. He simply reviewed his documents with a straight face. Otherwise, why do you think I came back early? I cursed him in my head, bad man. Wait for me after work, wifey, okay? MHM. It took a long while for my heart to settle. I clutched the documents and walked out. Just as I sat back down at my workstation, my team leader lunged over. Anya! I jumped, startled. WH. What is it? I stammered. He looked me up and down, his anger mounting. I sent you to show a proposal to Mr. Justin, so why is your lipstick all smeared? I was doomed. Seeing that the secret was about to be out, my scalp went numb with tension. Did you go sneak food in the pantry again? I was wondering why it took half an hour to look at a proposal. I am so disappointed in you. Why are you so useless? If you don't want to work, then quit. Seeing him suddenly explode, my colleagues all crowded around to watch the drama. How can I put it? I felt utterly hopeless. Then, I looked up and a figure suddenly appeared at the entrance. He leaned his long frame casually against the door frame and said nonchalantly, I ate it. Do you have a problem with that? Everyone instantly turned toward the source of the voice. Upon seeing Justin, their mouths hung open in shock. Mr. Justin, this? My team leader instantly lost his footing. While the colleagues were exchanging intense looks, the kind that said we get it, Justin pulled out a stack of invitations and tossed them onto the table. Wedding banquet next week. Everyone is welcome to attend. No red envelopes, gifts, required. With that, he came over, took my hand, and said to the shell-shocked team leader, I'm borrowing your subordinate for a meal. Is that all right? Fine, okay, fine. My team leader nearly collapsed in fright. Ignoring everyone else, Justin led me out with gentlemanly tenderness. The wedding took place as scheduled. Happiness seemed to come with overwhelming force. The biggest surprise for me was, the page boy was Tommy. Anya, I've shared daddy with you. Can you come visit me at kindergarten? He looked up and handed me the bouquet. Of course I can. I leaned down and gave him a hug. He gave me a sweet smile and secretly pressed a piece of candy into my hand. As he turned away, I saw his chubby little hand wipe away a tear. When it was time to toss the bouquet, Justin suddenly pointed toward the crowd. Give it to your sister. I was puzzled. Machem, he nodded at me. I walked over with the bouquet. Phoebe stood there, forcing a faint smile. You won. I said nothing. I'm leaving tomorrow. I have a new boyfriend. I wish you happiness, she said with a smile, then took my bouquet and reached out to give me a hug. I stood still. She held up her phone, took a selfie with me, and then turned to leave. I saw my mother standing behind her, silently weeping. My sister seemed to sense something. She turned back, walked up to my mom, gave her a hug, patted her back, and then walked away for good. During the entire banquet, I wasn't the tired one, I just felt tired watching Justin. No matter who toasted him, he accepted every drink. Drink a little less. I tugged at his sleeve, worried about him. It's fine. He reached out to stroke my hair. I'm happy. That night, Tommy came home with us. I was even more surprised. Justin pulled me close and said with a smile, I gave her 10 million and told her to go find her own happiness. It's worth it. Huh? That much? Because she is your sister, and also Tommy's mother. Compared to your happiness and the child's, it's nothing. Oh. I guess I'd just never seen that much money. I was stunned. Think it's a lot? Macham, then how are you going to pay me back? He teased. How? What do you think? Before I could react, he swept me up in his arms. Under the moonlight, he held me close. Good night, wife. I watched him fall into a deep sleep, feeling sweet and fulfilled. Look, a secret crush, it fell into my dreams, then it fell into his, and finally, on this night, it blossomed into a flower. That flower is called cherry blossom. More dramatic love stories coming. Subscribe if you're into this kind of mess. Tell us what kind of story you would like to watch.